Hey guys, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Chris.
And this is question number 265 of 269 questions that we answer in the Keto Answers book, which is just that. Everything that we've ever gotten for questions, everything that you need to know about a ketogenic diet, all laid out for you. So 265.
The question is, what is the best way to measure body composition?
And the reason why we included this question in the book is just because fat loss is something that is just abundantly clear as a goal of people with a ketogenic diet. Ketogenic diet is an amazing tool for losing fat, but one of the things that happens a lot of times is people can lose fat but gain muscle mass. The scale doesn't change, and so they're not actually looking at their body composition. They're looking at just pounds on a scale.
Yep.
And I think that people can be really misled, really discouraged by that, when really they should be really pumped up because their body's changing rapidly.
Yeah, and another big problem with using the scale as your primary measurement for body composition is that we know you have really rapid weight loss when you start keto through a lot of water loss. And when, it's not uncommon. I had a family member who lost 16 pounds in his first week of following keto.
It's not fat.
It's not all of that's fat, obviously.
You can't gain 16 pounds of fat in a week, and you cannot lose 16 pounds of fat. It's impossible.
It just doesn't happen like that. Yeah, but for a lot of people, what will happen is when you're using that as a measurement, you can kind of set this unclear expectation that like, hey, I can lose that much weight so rapidly, and then when you don't experience that same weight loss because you're still only using the scale as your primary measurement, you can get a little bit discouraged. So I think it's better to look at, what are the best ways to test your body composition, which we can kind of talk about which those are.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ones. So again, the scale is just sort of raw mass, raw poundage of whatever you weigh. And so that can fluctuate wildly. If you go to the bathroom, it can be very different, before and after. And so you're not looking at the composition of your body. And so there's a few different ways. So some scales actually have what's called bioimpedance in them. So for instance, some smart scales, you step on them, it says your weight, but then it says the body fat percentage after that. These are not that accurate, meaning like every time you step on them, if you can step off and step on, it's not the same thing every single time. So it's really tough to know and to count on that. They're directionally accurate. And so for instance, if you were 17%, 16%, 16.5, 17, et cetera, and then 3 months later you're 12, 13, 11, et cetera, like that, it's gonna be accurate that way. So the trend lines in that are really important to look at. So if your weight is the same in a scale like this, I think Why Things or Withings has one. It's really great. But your weight's 150 pounds. And it's the same over the course of 3 months. But your body percentage is going 18%, 18.5, et cetera, all the way down to 11, 12. That is a really good gauge that, okay, you're actually replacing some body fat with some lean tissue, which is awesome.
Yeah, so I think that's a really great and more practical one to use because it's a little bit more easily accessible. Like most gyms will have them like sitting around, or you can get one for your home.
Yeah, $100, $200. You can test this stuff all the time. But like you said, this is a longer term trend thing. So don't focus on every single day. Like, oh man, I gained fat. Okay, I lost fat. Okay, I gained fat again.
Yeah.
No, I would average it over a long period of time. Again, you do not gain lots of fat over the course of a day or two, and you can't lose a lot of fat over the course of a day or two. You didn't get fat overnight, you're not gonna lose fat overnight.
Yeah, I think that's important when we look at any of the ways that we can measure our body composition. So another really big one is the DEXA scan. That's one that is, it's kind of the gold standard when it comes to body composition. There's still some problems with it in that it will measure water loss as a loss in lean body mass, so that can be a little bit hard to read that. But just like with the other ones, I think where a DEXA scan can become beneficial is that typically most people don't have access to be able to use it as frequently as they can a scale or some of these other measures that we're talking about. So they are more forced to just measure more periodically. And I think that takes a lot of stress off and a lot of pressure off of testing on a day-to-day basis, which is why I think that the DEXA can be more beneficial. But typically to do this, you have to go into like a weight loss clinic, or you have to find some sort of clinic around that has access to that. So in general, I think a better way that we can probably be looking at our body composition is like how our clothes are fitting. I think is actually a really good way to do it because you're going to be able to get a better idea of what's going on based on that, and that's something that you can kind of pay attention to on a day-to-day basis. That's going to be probably a better telltale sign than stepping on a scale or using a DEXA scan or anything like that.
Yeah, and the different tools lead to different accuracy. And like you're saying, the DEXA is just an X-ray. It's the most specific. So you'll notice the exact amounts most on a DEXA machine. You can also do hydrostatic weighing, which is putting yourself in a dunk tank. There's calipers. There's body tape. But like you said, let's think about practicality here. My favorite, sort of like what you're saying, is what I call the mirror test. So take some photos of yourself, and if you're the same exact weight, but you look really different, you can bet that your body composition is changing.
Yeah.
Like, is that what you're doing? Like, why are you doing it? Why are you losing fat? You know what I mean? Obviously, if we carry a lot of excess body fat, that leads to a lot of other chronic illness. But obviously, we want to reduce that. But a lot of times, people just want to look good, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
And that that depends per person. So 12% body fat on me may look very different than you.
Yeah.
And so maybe I just carry it a little bit differently. Maybe I have some internal body fat. Maybe it's in different parts of my body. But maybe I'm cool with that. And so I think that just having the mirror test is one of my favorite ways for measuring body composition.
Yeah, and it also allows you to make it a little bit more personalized too. You know, we have all these kind of silly scales out there that say that like your body fat percentage should fall in this certain range or your BMI should be in this certain range, and those are kind of ridiculous because it does depend on the person. And even when we, like you're just talking about how, you know, different body fat percentages can look different on certain people. There's a threshold for me where if I go below it, I really don't like the way that I look. I feel like I look really thin and stuff. So
Too jacked. He just looks too jacked. He can't even handle it.
I wish that was the case, but it is not. Just look like really thin when I get down to that level. So the mirror test I think is a great way to be like, you know, am I happy with where I'm at? Where do I want to progress? Do I want to try to put on size? Am I still trying to lose more fat? And that can kind of allow you to adjust your goals accordingly.
Yeah. So you use the body comp test that works best for you, but look at body composition, just don't look at a raw number on a scale.
Yep.
If you're looking to simplify everything you need to know about the world's most confusing diet, head on over to Amazon.com and pick up Keto Answers today. The best part about it is that you're not just getting basic information. It's almost like you're getting a tiny little version of me and Chris shrunk down, put in your pocket to answer every question you have along your way.
And that's not weird, it's beneficial.
It's the best.